What's up guys, Block FPL here and welcome back to another Fantasy Premier League video. If you enjoy these videos, please remember to like and subscribe. With that said, here is my current team at the moment. Now my one big decision is I don't know whether to play Trossard or Rafinha. Rafinha has a tougher matchup against Fulham, who've been defending decently as of recent, and Trossard, well, I don't think he's as good of an option independently, but given the fixture, I would say that he competes with Rafinha because playing Newcastle is much better than playing Fulham. So let me go one through the team as it stands at the moment with Rafinha in. So I have double Brighton defense. I had triple for a while, but I was like, you know what? I honestly don't trust Brighton to defend that much. Not after Southampton kind of threatened them more than I would have liked last game. Now, Newcastle aren't good at all. They have a lot of injuries like St. Maximin, Almiron, I think Callum Wilson as well. And Newcastle simply aren't threatening very much, but I could still see them getting one goal. I haven't went for the triple up because I like other defensive options elsewhere. I think Brighton double up or triple up is the way to go still. Newcastle is such a good matchup. But I like defenders in general this week. I like Tierney, good attacking threat. West Ham, decent attacking team, right? Pretty good, but Arsenal, very good defensively pretty much all season and recently as well. So I think Tierney's pretty much nailed into the team. Attacking threat, clean sheet threat, get into the team, and Dallas is definitely nailed on. Very, very high attacking threat, especially for a defender. Knows how to get goals and assists. Fulham, not much attacking threat at all at the moment. This is sort of a game where Fulham at the moment are going to be going into every game with everything they have. But recently they've been putting a lot of that effort into simply making sure they don't concede a lot, sneaking out 1-0 wins, maybe a draw. Against Leeds, I don't know how this game is going to go. Obviously Leeds like to attack a lot, and I think they can create some goals. They haven't been doing that recently, but against teams that sort of sit back, or teams that you could expect them to beat, we've seen them. So the last three, Villa, West Ham, and Chelsea, those have sort of caused some problems for them. They've scored 0 goals in that time period. But before that, we saw them play Southampton, beat them 3-0. Wolves, they failed against it as well. I would say Wolves and Arsenal are teams that you wouldn't really expect Leeds to beat anyway. The last really 2 games where they have played weaker opposition were against Crystal Palace. They won 2-0, and Southampton, they won 3-0. And before that, there's not many of these cases. I guess in Newcastle, they won 2-1, but they've had a lot of decent fixtures, but not a lot of amazing ones. So it's kind of hard to judge them. Right now, I have the triple up in. I'm going to go with Bamford. As I said, my decision is between Rafinha or Trossard, but defensively, I think Dallas is a must-have. He's simply been too good this season. And Reguilon is somebody I just put in recently. I think it's most likely that Son doesn't play. Of course, he could still come in and do fine, but he hasn't been the greatest recently anyway. I think Reguilon, we don't know if he's going to play or not. I hope he either plays 90 or he plays 0. Then Trossard would come in. So I'm not too worried about rotation given that I'm free hitting as long as he doesn't come off the bench. So I'm willing to take the risk on somebody who's gotten, 4 assists in, I want to say, like 1,400 minutes. And that's pretty good for a defender. And Aston Villa, pretty low down on the expected goals chart. Let's go recently. This is past between 8 to 6 games depending on how many each team has played. We can still see Villa's played 6 here, and they've created the same amount of expected goals as teams like West Brom, Wolves, Sheffield United, Crystal Palace are much lower, but only 1 goal more, expected goal more than Sheffield United and less than West Brom, and the same amount of games. So they're sort of in that category for me at the moment, and they've also only scored 3, even though they've created 5.8 worth of expected goals. So Villa, in general, no Grealish, not attacking well at all. I think I'm like, you know what? With Son most likely being out, I still had Son in the team, but I was like, I want that extra Tottenham spot. Reguilon with some decent attacking threat, kind of like Tierney, a left back that I think's got the best of both worlds in terms of some clean sheet potential and also some attacking threat. So I think he's going to end up in the team for sure. And in general, I'm pretty happy with this defense. I've even considered going 5 at the back. I think that's viable. One thing I could do, let's say I do Cresswell to Veltman, another Brighton defender. Then I just get rid of Trossard for some random player that I put on the bench. And then I could play Veltman over the likes of Rafinha or maybe Maha. So maybe 5 at the back is actually viable this week because I think there's some good defensive options. But with that said, let's move on to the midfield. So Aubameyang, he's my vice captain at the moment. There's simply not too many premium assets that we can go for. Aubameyang was rested last game because of, he was being punished because he's been late to practice, I assume. And Aubameyang is simply somebody I want in this team. He's on penalties. West Ham have been decent. Aubameyang's numbers recently haven't been too bad, though, and he has scored recently. He's still 14th in threat over the course of the season. He's still got 10 goal involvements in less than 2,000 minutes, so he's still averaging a return, less than every 200 minutes. So it's not terrible. He had the hat trick recently in a pretty decent matchup, and then against Burnley he also scored. Other than that, they played Man City and Leicester, which Arsenal still scored 3 against Leicester, and of course Man City's still tough. But he came off for only 7 minutes against Leicester, so. There is a chance he's rotated. I am worried about that, but I think he's high upside with the way he's playing at the moment. He's got, 2 15-plus pointers in the past 10 weeks, so I'm definitely going to take a chance on him when I'm free hitting. I think it's high upside, and almost the captain's option if there wasn't that uncertainty there. With them playing so well without him last match, I could see you going without him. And it's almost putting me off. I could completely understand no Aubameyang, but then putting in Lacazette, I think that would make sense as well. So for me, that would probably look like simply playing Trossard instead of Aubameyang, and then putting Lacazette instead of Maja there, or Maja. I don't know exactly how you say his name. And the reason why he is in the team, Mr. Maja, is basically because, all right, this is where I'm going to sort of go through all of the options, because Maja is basically in the team simply because I don't love him necessarily, but the alternatives aren't great either. Trossard's decent. There are some decent options here, but when we look at the fixtures, Fulham, Leeds. Fulham attack, I don't like it, and that includes Maja. But Leeds, I like that matchup for Fulham because Leeds have conceded a lot of chances recently. So that's a good matchup with a bad attacking team. Brighton, I think their attack's been pretty decent recently in terms of the chances they've created, and they also have a good matchup with Newcastle, but I like their defenders even more, so I've already, spent a lot of money in defense, and I also have Trossard that I'm considering playing. West Ham versus Arsenal. Now, Lingard's numbers are actually very good. Let me pull up at understat.com here. Let's go to Lingard. I don't know if you guys can see this, but Lingard's expected goals per 90 minutes plus expected assists per 90 minutes is 1.14. That's higher than the likes of Bamford, Maja, Trossard, Rafinha, Lookman, Mape, all these other guys I was looking at. So Lingard's actually a decent option, but Arsenal's defense being so good recently puts me off, and that's basically how that is. Again, it's a decent attacking team with a tough fixture, and Arsenal, I would say the same for them. A pretty decent attacking team with a tough fixture. And then Villa and Spurs. Now, Villa have been very uncreative recently, which makes me, Spurs about mid-table defensively with Reguilon, somebody like Reguilon's attacking threat. That makes me interested in him. Villa defensively have been okay, but of course Spurs are very good attacking-wise, and that's why you see Bale and Kane in my team. So that's kind of how I view all the matchups at the moment. I would say Brighton and Spurs probably have the best overall matchups. Fulham against Leeds is a great matchup for their attackers. I would suspect, but Fulham are just simply so bad at attacking at the moment that I don't have any confidence in them. But I do have Maja in the team at the moment. And obviously Bamford, I've got him in there. I think he takes higher priority over Rafinha because he's on penalties for me. Rafinha's creative numbers have been very good recently. I could see going for either one there. I think that makes sense. No strong opinion there. And Kane, I think you almost have to captain him this week. Only reliable option really out there. I think the other captaincy options, honestly, in my opinion, would be Dallas, Aubameyang, and maybe Tierney. I kind of like Dallas. I'm actually going to put Dallas as my vice captain at the moment. Fulham not creative at all. Dallas with some attacking threat. I kind of like it. With that said, I think Kane captaincy it's not really ever going to change, right? Villa haven't been amazing defensively. Let's go check them over the past month or so. Expected goals against Villa, a little above mid-table, but right in the middle of the pack. But then we sort by expected goals. We can see Tottenham a little above average. They've only played 6, though. And, of course, we have Kane just who can finish everything. And there's really no other reliable option like him. So I think it's not a terrible matchup for Kane, given how they've played recently. With that said, this is the team at the moment. Let me know what you think, if there's anybody I'm forgetting about. A quick look back at last week, because I didn't do it at the beginning of the video. I ended up with 53 points, minus 4 is 49. Considering I took a -4, I'll take the slight green arrow up to 85k, I believe it is. So very, very small green arrow. I think it was like only 2,000 or 3,000. Anyway, have a good game week, and I will see you guys in the deadline stream an hour before deadline.